something on vitreous. So what do you know about vitreous? Any of you have any idea what vitreous is? Okay, it may be new thing to you. Okay, so in eyeball there is mainly two cavities. Okay, in eyeball it's mainly like a two ball. It's like a two ball joined together. Okay, having different radius of curvature. The outer one, the outer circle or the outer sphere is basically made of cornea. Okay, up to iris, and another sphere. Okay, it is mainly if you imagine that it's a two sphere, then another one is mainly formed by the sclera, bounded by sclera. Okay, so basically the eye has two cavity. The anterior one is known as anterior chamber. Okay, anterior cavity which has two chamber. Okay, anterior chamber and posterior chamber, and the posterior cavity, and that is mainly filled with vitreous. Okay, in anterior and posterior chamber, you all know that it is filled with aqueous humor. Okay, so eye is like a ball. Okay, to give it a shape, there has to be a structure. Okay, like in anterior chamber, at the anterior cavity, there is a liquid thing. Okay, that is mm, aqueous humor. In the posterior cavity, there's a jelly-like thing. Okay, so it's because of the jelly-like thing present in the vitreous cavity or the posterior cavity, the eye has the shape of a ball, round shape. Okay, so basically the vitreous, it is an inner substance. Okay, and it is transparent and it is colorless. If you see this photo, okay, you can see here. Okay, in the inner structure, it is a jelly-like thing. Okay, it's an autopsy material. Okay, so you can see the jelly-like thing. Okay, so it's inert, it's transparent, it is colorless, and it's a jelly-like substance which fills the posterior cavity. That is vitreous. Okay, and its shape is similar to that of the vitreous cavity. Okay, so basically it gives a shape to the eyeball or the vitreous cavity. And the vitreous body, it is spherical. As I said earlier, it's like a eyeball is like a two sphere put together. Okay, and its weight is of 4 gram and volume is also 4 ml. So if you see this structure eyeball, okay, this photo or then you can see there here that this thing in the posterior part which is filling the posterior cavity, this is vitreous. Okay, if you see the boundary, you can see that anteriorly it is bounded by lens. Okay, posterior surface of the lens and partly by ciliary body. Okay, so it is here, its anterior boundary, and posteriorly it is bounded by retina. This orange like thing which you see behind the transparent thing is retina. Okay, so this is retina. So posteriorly it is bounded by retina. Okay, so this is an eye model. Here you can see that this is cornea, this is anterior chamber. You can see lens here, and behind the posterior surface of the lens, you can see a jelly-like thing. Okay, this jelly-like thing is a vitreous. So I hope that you have an idea what vitreous is. Okay, so you know the boundary. Okay, boundary also like anterior and posterior boundary you have to know. And if you see this is not a perfect sphere. Okay, the vitreous is not a perfect sphere. You can see a depressed area in the anterior surface, okay, which is known as patellar fossa. Okay, so it takes because the lens is a biconvex structure. Okay, it's a convex structure. That means to fit with the lens, the anterior surface of the vitreous is depressed, somewhat depressed. Okay, and that portion is known as patellar fossa, and it corresponds with the posterior surface of the lens. Okay, and you should know the structure. If sometimes you will be given question on the anatomy of the vitreous. Okay, so that time you should write what is vitreous. Okay, introductory part, what is vitreous, what is its boundary, what is its weight, what is its volume, and what is its structure like. Okay, so vitreous is an extracellular material which is composed of approximately 99% of water. Okay, so mostly it is water, and then it has some collagen tissue. Okay, so it is composed of network of randomly oriented collagen fibril. And basically, the collagen fibrils that are present in vitreous are type 2 collagen. And in between this collagen, there are numerous spheroid molecules of hyaluronic acid. Okay, so it's basically, it has water, it has collagen tissue, and it has molecules of hyaluronic acid. Okay, so it is randomly arranged. Okay, arranged. So this is the structure that vitreous has. So you should know the function. So when you are given a short notes on vitreous, you have to write function also. So basically, since it's a transparent structure, it has optical function. Okay, so light passes through it so that it is focused on the retina. And since it gives volume to the globe. Okay, and it's a jelly-like structure, so it mechanically stabilizes the volume of the globe. Okay, so it also acts as a pathway for nutrients to reach the lens and retina, because our lens is a vascular structure, and for retina also it acts as a pathway to reach the nutrients. Okay, so you should know the parts of vitreous. Okay, as I said earlier, it is the largest and the simplest connective tissue, which are present as a single piece in human body. Okay, so it's a connective tissue, and it is divided into different parts. Mainly, it is divided into three parts. The outermost layer is also known as hyaloid layer or the membrane. Okay, it's not a true membrane, but we call it, the outer layer is known as a membrane. And then the outer surface, it is known as cortical vitreous, and the main vitreous body or the nuclear vitreous. Okay, the hyaloid membrane, it is divided into anterior and the posterior hyaloid membrane. Okay, it is also known as anterior limiting membrane, the outer covering, and the posterior limiting membrane. Okay, so as I said earlier, the hyaloid membrane is not a true membrane. Okay, it's actually a condensation of outermost surface layer of the vitreous body. Okay, so it's just an condensation. It's not a membrane, but it forms the boundary. Okay, that's why it is known as membrane. Okay, so it is divided into two parts, as I said earlier, anterior and the posterior membrane. Okay, the anterior limiting membrane, it covers the it covers the vitreous body anteriorly. Okay, so if you see this one, okay, so this is like a membrane. Okay, the condensed part, and it covers the vitreous body anteriorly, and it starts at the ora serrata, 1.5 millimeter from the ora serrata. Okay, so ora serrata, do you know what is ora serrata? It's an ending of retina. Okay, the ending point of a retina is known as ora serrata. Here you can see this pinkish structure is there, and you can see at the serrated margin. Okay, this serrated margin, this is known as ora serrata. So it starts approximately 1.5 millimeter from the ora serrata, and then it is condensed. Okay, in the anterior part, this is the anterior hyaloid membrane, and it is attached to the posterior surface of the lens. Okay, so it has attachment with the posterior surface of the lens, and this attachment is formed in young people, but it's very weak in the elderly people. Okay, and in the posterior hyaloid membrane, okay, the posterior hyaloid membrane, it extends from the vitreous base, okay, up to the optic disc. So here I have said that it starts from ora serrata. So this area here, somewhere here, there is vitreous base. So I'll be talking on the what is vitreous base later in my slides. Okay, so it starts from vitreous base up to the optic disc. So entirely up to the cornea, up to optic disc, this covering, okay, from ora serrata around in this zone up to optic disc. Okay, it is known as posterior hyaloid membrane, and it is loosely attached to the internal limiting membrane of the retina. So retina, all of you know that it has 10 layer, and the innermost layer is the internal limiting membrane. So it is loosely attached to the retina, and clinically it becomes evident in the presence of pre-retinal hemorrhage or posterior vitreous separation or detachment. Okay, so normally we don't see the limitation or the marking of the posterior highlight membrane. Okay, so when we clinically examine, we can't make out which one is vitreous highlight membrane, which one is internal limiting membrane. Okay, but then in the case of pre-retinal hemorrhage, or if the patient is suffering from posterior vitreous detachment, or then in those cases, when we do indirect ophthalmoscopy, we are able to make out the difference. Okay, so we can actually see the posterior highlight membrane in those cases. Now I'll be talking on the cortical vitreous. The cortical vitreous refers to the peripheral zone. Okay, the entire peripheral zone. Okay, so this peripheral zone, it is a sagittal section. Here, the peripheral part. Okay, the peripheral part is the cortical. This is the cortical vitreous. Okay, the peripheral part is the cortical vitreous. Okay, so vitreous cortex, it refers to the entire peripheral zone, and it is approximately 100 micron in width. Okay, and it represents only 2% of the total vitreous volume. Okay, the main one is the core vitreous or the central vitreous. The major constituent is the central vitreous or the cortical. Also, we also call it a central vitreous or the nuclear vitreous. Okay, and the outermost layer is only 2%, and it is but it is important because it is the metabolic center for the vitreous body. Now we are talking about the medullary vitreous. Okay, another name is central vitreous or the nuclear vitreous. Also, we can say, okay, it has 3 different names, and the majority of the vitreous body, it is formed by the central vitreous. Okay, the peripheral zone, it is cortical vitreous, and the central zone, it is known as medullary vitreous, central vitreous, or nuclear vitreous, whatever. Okay, name you can give, but it's the main one is the central vitreous. Okay, and structurally it is similar to the cortical vitreous, but except that it is a less fibular structure. Okay, and in the central vitreous, you can see a canal. Okay, it's a cloacoid canal. Okay, which is running down from the center of the lens up to the optic disc. Okay, so it is actually the remnant of the primary vitreous. Okay, so you can see that this canal over here. Now you should know the attachment of vitreous. It is very important question. Okay, you can have a question, written questions in SAQs. Okay, and also in the MCQs, you can get questions on the attachment of vitreous, and the vitreous is firmly attached to the surrounding structure, and the vitreous base. Okay, sorry. Okay. So now I'll be talking on the vitreous base, which I said earlier, the posterior boundary is starts from the vitreous base. So you should know what is vitreous base. Okay, so actually it's nothing but in 4 millimeter area across the ora serrata. Ora serrata means the ending of retina. So around this area where the retina ends, around 4 millimeter of those area is known as vitreous edge, and it has the strongest attachment in the vitreous base. So it's very important. Okay, and another attachment is in the margin of the optic disc. Okay, and another attachment is in the back of the lens. Okay, by highlight capsular ligament of Weger. Okay, and another attachment is in the fovea, and other attachment is along the blood vessels of the retina. So these are the attachment the vitreous has with retina. Okay, so it is important for your written question. So this again, I'm going to describe on the vitreous base. It's a 4 millimeter wide zone of the vitreous. Okay, it starts at approximately 1.5 millimeter anterior to the ora serrata. Okay, and it is attached firmly to the ora serrata around this vitreous base, and here the collagen, why it has strong attachment. Okay, so now you should know why the attachment is strong in the vitreous base. It's because the collagen fibers gets inserted into the internal limiting membrane of retina and pars plana. Okay, so the attachment is strong in this area. And with age, it widens anteriorly and posteriorly, this attachment. Okay. Now you should know this is all about the anatomy and physiology about the vitreous. Okay, so you should know about few disorders of vitreous. Okay, the first one is vitreous hemorrhage. Okay, so you have read in the class that what are the causes of sudden painless loss of vision, and one of them is vitreous hemorrhage. Okay, massive vitreous hemorrhage. And you should wonder what is vitreous hemorrhage. Okay, now you should know about this. Okay, so vitreous hemorrhage is the hemorrhage which occurs in the vitreous. Okay, but as I said earlier, vitreous is a vascular structure. But from where this hemorrhage comes? Okay, so you should know the from where why does the vitreous hemorrhage occur? Okay, it's actually the hemorrhage that comes from the retinal vessels. So if any vessels bleeds in the retina, it comes into the vitreous space and causes the vitreous hemorrhage. Okay, so you should know what are the causes of vitreous hemorrhage. And the most common cause is the spontaneous. Okay, sometimes the hemorrhage is spontaneous. Mostly it is due to trauma. Okay, and even certain inflammatory diseases like chorioretinitis, periphlebitis, okay, they can cause vitreous hemorrhage. Vascular disorders like hypertensive retinopathy, diabetic retinopathy, okay, central retinal vein occlusions, and branch retinal vein occlusion. This vascular disorder can also cause vitreous hemorrhage. Metabolic disorder like I say diabetic retinopathy, okay, blood dyskeriosis like anemia, leukemia, or any bleeding disorders like thrombophilia. Okay, all this if the patient has any coagulopathy, it can cause uh, vitreous hemorrhage. Okay, and even the neoplastic conditions, because in neoplastic condition, this neoplasm has feeder vessels which are very weak and fragile, so it can bleed easily, leading to vitreous hemorrhage. So what will happen to the patient if patient has vitreous hemorrhage? Okay, the clinical features. For that, you should know the clinical features. Usually, the patient comes to you with sudden onset of floaters. It depends upon the amount of hemorrhage. Okay, so if the hemorrhage is only of small amount, it will cause the floaters only. Okay, the hemorrhage is scatter and it's of less amount, then the only problem the patient has is sudden onset of floaters. But then if the hemorrhage is massive, involving almost whole part of the uterus, then the patient will have sudden painless loss of vision. So when you examine, okay, if the patient come to you with sudden painless loss of vision and you examine that, when you do intersegment ophthalmoscope examination, you won't find anything. The eye is white and quiet. Okay, you don't see anything. But if you dilate the case and if you see the fundus, okay, and if you, as an MBBS student, if you do distant direct ophthalmoscopy, okay, if the hemorrhage is of small amount, you can get a black shadow against red glow. Okay, if the hemorrhage is small and scattered, you can perceive the black shadow against red glow. But if the hemorrhage is massive, involving whole uterus, then there will be absent of glow. And when we do, as an ophthalmologist, when we do direct and indirect ophthalmoscopy, we will actually see the blood in the vitreous cavity. Okay, and then we have to investigate. Okay, now what investigation we are going to do? We are going to do ultrasonography base scan. Okay, so when we do ultrasonography base scan, we can appreciate the echo-dense opacity in the vitreous cavity. Okay, so this is the base scan photograph. This shadow is due to lens. This shadow is due to retina, and this black part, the cavity, this is vitreous cavity. Here, normally it is black. It should be black. But here you can see this white opacities all over the vitreous. Okay, that means there is presence of blood in vitreous. Okay, so this is a fundus photograph where we can see that in this inferior temporal quadrant, you can see a large hemorrhage in front of the retina. So this is preretinal hemorrhage, and this is a schematic diagram. Okay, where you can see this hemorrhage over there. Okay, and you can see from where this hemorrhage occurs. Okay. Now, what were we going to do if the patient has vitreous hemorrhage? Now you have examined, the patient has come to you with the complaint, and you have examined, you have investigated. Now, what's the treatment? Okay, the treatment part is that if the hemorrhage is small, okay, if it's the hemorrhage is small and scattered, we can go for conservative treatment. Okay, we can ask the patient to take bed rest with heat elevation so that the blood will gravitate downward. Okay, and then within 4 to 8 weeks, there will be spontaneous absorption. Okay, and once the blood settles down, then we have to look the fundus. Okay, we have to examine the fundus, see where's the bleeding point and what's the cause of bleeding. Then we have to treat the causative lesion. Okay, so what's the cause? We have to treat that thing. Okay, so vitreous hemorrhage itself is not a disease. It's due to some other condition. The condition hemorrhage has occurred. Okay, so we have to treat the causative thing. Okay, and if the hemorrhage is very large and it's not spontaneously absorbed even after 3 months, then we have to do vitrectomy. Okay, and the vitrectomy is done through the pars plana. Okay, so we have to approach the pars plana, that is the part of ciliary body. Okay, so from that point we have to make entry and then remove the vitreous. Now, another condition which we have to discuss is vitreous degeneration. Okay, so vitreous degeneration is also known as vitreous liquefaction or synchisis. And it is the most common degenerative change which we see in the vitreous. Okay, so this vitreous degeneration is usually seen in old patient, okay, due to old age. And another common cause is myopia. So patients with high myopia, they are prone to have vitreous degeneration. And any post-inflammatory conditions or trauma, thermal effect, or radiation effect can cause vitreous degeneration. So clinical features is floaters. Okay, so normally the vitreous, when the patient has vitreous degeneration, patient will complain of floaters. It's due to liquefaction. Okay, so when there is liquefaction, then there will be formation of opacities. Okay, it is associated with collapse of the vitreous and then formation of opacities, and these opacities will give rise to the floaters. Okay, when we do slit lamp examination, okay, then we will see that there will be absence of fine fibrillar structure, and then we can see the visible pocket of liquefaction with appearance of coarse aggregate materials, okay, vitreous opacity, which are moving freely in the vitreous. Okay, so these are the things which gives rise to floaters. There are other vitreous opacities, okay, the other causes of vitreous opacities which gives rise to the problem of floaters. Okay, the important one is inflammatory vitreous opacity, which is we see in intermediate uveitis, mostly in intermediate and the posterior uveitis. There is the formation of exudate in the vitreous. Okay, so this exudate will give rise to the problem of floaters. Okay. And another conditions which we commonly say is steroid hyalosis. This condition is commonly seen in diabetes. So what we see here is the small white round bodies which are suspended in gel thing. Okay, so if you see this structure, okay, so this in this photograph you can see this is a slit lamp examination photograph. Okay, this is cornea and this biconvex structure is lens, and behind the lens you can see this white round bodies are there which are suspended in the vitreous cell. Okay, it is due to accumulation of calcium containing lipids. Okay, so it's mostly seen in the diabetic patient. It's usually unilateral, and usually these patients are asymptomatic and mostly seen in old patient with healthy vitreous. Okay, so actually treatment is not required for this patient. Another vitreous degeneration is synchisis scintillans. Okay, the synchisis scintillans are the crystalline bodies which is form of cholesterol. Okay, it is formed due to cholesterol, and it's usually seen in damaged eye. Okay, So what happens is that in diamond's eye, the crystals they sink into the bottom. Okay, so you can see the crystalline structures over there. Okay, they actually sink down to the bottom. Okay, due to gravity. But when you move the eye, okay, so with each movement, they will spread. Okay, so every moment it will go spread in, and then again it slowly settles down. Okay, in the bottom. So this phenomena gives appearance of the golden rain. Okay, so they just move around. When you move the eye, they just move around. Then slowly they will settle down at the bottom. So it gives a beautiful view to you and ophthalmologist. But actually, is this condition is occurs in a damaged eye, and we can't do much to help those people. Okay, so you should know about the this about vitreous opacities. So it's a short class, the vitreous. Okay, so in seven okay, so please go through those things which I have mentioned. Okay, in your book, and you can also read yourself. So if you have any query, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'll end the class.